He was not sick, but was taken to the hospital for a checkup. As the instrument started, Eddie immediately screamed. The toxic liquid in his body was violently extracted by Hesekong. The instrument was exposed. The doctor hurriedly turned off the instrument. He went to see if the patient was okay, but Eddie, who came out, was still alive and well, as if nothing had happened. The doctor said, "Why don't you do it again?" Then he was pinched by the toxic liquid. The situation was urgent. Xiao Mei directly turned on the instrument switch. With the pain, the toxic liquid was finally extracted from Eddie's body and was locked in the lab. Eddie pointed at the toxic liquid and scolded him shamelessly. Then he turned around and left. But the cunning toxic liquid slipped away quietly from the vent. Eddie, who was seriously injured, was about to leave the hospital, but he had a concussion with the killer of Hesekong. He was anesthetized directly on the ground. When he woke up, Hesekong was strangling him. He asked him to hand over the toxic liquid immediately. But how did Eddie know the whereabouts of the toxic liquid? The other party also saw a black liquid flowing out of his body. It was a Riot. The second person was embarrassed. He wanted to lead the same kind to rule the earth. When he learned that Eddie was useless, the killer took him to the woods to get rid of him. At the last moment, a hand slapped the killer's shoulder. As soon as he turned around, he was swallowed by a big mouth and died on the spot. And the one who came was the toxic liquid. Then they kissed deeply. The toxic liquid came back to Eddie again. It turned out that the toxic liquid used Xiao Mei's body to save him. The toxic liquid returned to its original appearance and urged Xiao Mei to hurry home. Then he was going to stop the riot with Eddie. On the way, the toxic liquid told Eddie that, in fact, on his own planet, he was also a cowardly and incompetent loser. But now he has the support of the strongest king on the earth. So he wants to help Eddie defend the earth. He must not let the riot dominate the earth with the common body. They ran crazily all the way. The moment before the riot boarded the rocket, they stopped him. The riot directly accused the toxic liquid of treason. As soon as the two fought, the riot turned into a giant. A hand turned into a hammer. The white hand was so fierce that the toxic liquid could not resist for a moment. Fortunately, Eddie had a strong body. The toxic liquid had a chance to fight back. He grabbed the riot's head and hit it on the ground, and the riot was also forced to make a big move. The two hands turned into countless daggers pointing at the toxic liquid. The two were fighting together. The toxic liquid wanted to pinch the riot's neck from behind, but he was stabbed by a sharp thorn that protruded from his body. The riot began to unilaterally abuse him. After throwing the toxic liquid away, he fell from the sky and stepped on the toxic liquid. The toxic liquid gradually fell to the ground and was thrown onto the launch pad. The riot reached out and tried to remove the toxic liquid from Eddie's body. At this time, Xiao Mei in the monitoring room saw this scene and was excited. She concentrated her mind and opened the dialogue between Gao Ping and Shen Bo. The riot and the toxic liquid were once again integrated. Then they separated and recovered again. Finally, under the influence of Shen Bo, they withdrew from the body of the Communist Party. Eddie jumped up. The weak Deke was badly injured. Then he was kicked off the launch pad by a kick. Eddie turned around and ran to the launch pad. But the Riot and Deke reunited again. They were turned into a giant ship. Then they rushed to the rocket and jumped into the cockpit. And Eddie felt the loss of his life. With his left hand helplessly hammered at the last moment, the toxic liquid came out again. With the giant blade in his chest, Eddie was revived. Then he jumped on the rocket with his strength. He expressed his good wishes to the Riot and Deke. He held the giant fuel box that broke the rocket. The rocket exploded in mid-air. Deke and the Riot were directly destroyed. The toxic liquid turned into a falling protective umbrella around Eddie's head to prevent Eddie from being exploded. Eddie safely fell into the water and came back to life.